Alright. What are you doing, you silly girl? She looks so uncomfortable in this thing, but I'm trying to get her used to sleeping in these sling things. I don't know why. I hope it's alright for her. I don't want her to get all scrunched up and her spine not develop or something. Oh, it's okay, sweetheart. She's a beautiful girl. I love you. Yes! Anyway, so that continued on for, this is the contractions, they continued on for a long time. It got to, I think, I wasn't aware of time, but it got to maybe 10, 11, 12, I don't know what time it was, probably about 12, 1 o'clock. And I'd wet myself, I'd wet myself, there was blood pouring down my legs, and it was just absolute torture, this whole thing. Anyway, then I got this urge to push. Every time a contraction came on, I'm like, oh, I really need to push. But because I was so quiet, like I was just, this is all going on inside my head, all this thing, this crazy stuff. But my husband later on said the room was just dead silent. All that happened was, I'd have contractions and I'd be squeezing and I'd be breathing and then they'd finish and then it would happen all again. And it, by this stage, late, this is probably, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours into it, I don't know. I was knocked out after each contraction, then the contraction would wake me up again. So I was unconscious in between, which was, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds max, wasn't very long at all, that I had a break in between. And then I'd be woken up by these contractions and I'd have to start all over again. Anyway, I started getting this urge to push and I thought, no one knew this, so I'm like, I have to tell people, because I knew I wasn't dilated enough, so I told, I think by that stage they'd checked me and I was 7 centimetres dilated or something. All of a sudden, in about an hour, I think, I'd gone from nothing to 7 centimetres. So the midwife came, I'd said to my mum, I think I whispered it because I was just so out of it. I'm like, I have to push. And so she went and told them and they came in and they're all like, you can't push, because you're not ready, you damage your cervix, whatever. So anyway, they said, look, we'll give you the epidural, and I didn't even know that was an option, otherwise I would have taken it a long time ago. I was that desperate for pain relief. They said, we'll give you the epidural just to stop the pushing. I think that's what they said. This is the information coming to someone who really had no idea what was going on. So I'm like, epidural, if that gets rid of the pain, that would just, like, seriously, I felt like I was on death's door, it was so desperate. So they came in, they're giving me the whole spiel about epidural, this is the risks and stuff, they have to have your consent, and I'm like, yep, I don't care about the risks, just give me the epidural. So they, you alright? So they, I couldn't sit up because I couldn't physically sit up. It's like every time I sat up, all these contractions were just like, I was being bombarded by contractions, so it was out of the question for me. So I had to sit there. It took about 20 minutes, and I was just lying there and I had to let the woman know every time I had a contraction because she had to stop doing what she was doing because they're fiddling with your spine. Anyway, when the epidural set in, it was like after 5 minutes I noticed a huge difference. And by 20 minutes I was pretty much pain-free and I sat up and I looked at my mum for the first time and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even know you were here, pretty much, even though I'd sort of been communicating to her, but I wasn't aware she'd actually arrived yet. And it was awesome. It was just the best thing ever. Epidural. Seriously, I was so anti it. And for a natural labour, I reckon I could have gotten through it, but this was a crazy labour. Anyway, I reckon it was. I mean, I don't know. I've never had it before, but still, I seriously think it was just the worst. Anyway, so then that was fine, and then all of a sudden, my husband's looking at the heart monitor because they monitored the baby's heart the whole time, and her heart rate, which should be, I think, between about 120 to 160, dropped to like 60. And he's looking at it, and I'm like looking behind me at the monitor. I'm like, oh my god, what now? I'm thinking, I thought everything was going to be alright. We're going to have this baby. So I'm watching this heart going slightly up and rapidly down and everything. I'm thinking, oh my God. So I'm saying to Adam, go and get the midwife, you know, make sure they know what's going on. Because I know that that's fetal distress when they don't, their heart rate drops. I'm thinking, oh, is she going to be alright? Anyway, so long story short, doctors came in and they look at the monitor and then they look at each other and like, oh yeah, I think we're going to have to do a Caesar. I'm thinking, are you serious? You know, first of all, I really didn't want a Caesar. By this stage, I didn't really care. But I'm thinking they could have told me, like, they could have just done it like 13 hours ago and saved me all the bother. But anyway, so they monitored a bit more. They gave me something to calm down those contractions to see if that would bring her heart rate up. Then her heart rate skyrocketed to about 180, and I didn't really understand what was going on. But they came in, they're like, yep, we're going to have to do a cesarean. So I'm like, okay. By that stage, I was a little bit nervous, but I didn't really care. I was so tired. So they prepped me for the cesarean, and you know, we went in, had it done. I was lying like that. First of all, I just want to say epidural doesn't hurt. It's awesome. It's great. If you're in a lot of pain and you're really suffering, I reckon just go for it. If not, you know, don't. Try and do it naturally. Do whatever you feel is right. Cesarean didn't hurt at all. You know, they put, because I'd had the I was lucky I'd had the epidural, because they could put the spinal block straight in and they didn't have to knock me out because it was an emergency Caesar, and so that was good. They had me stretched out like that, and I was awake, which was really good. They started doing it and you feel all this pulling and stuff, but obviously it doesn't hurt. I couldn't see anything, which, you know, I'm glad I couldn't see anything. But they had the blue sheet up, whatever, so that, you know, you can't see it. And then all of a sudden this thing comes out. They show this big blue wet thing, looks like an octopus because she had the umbilical cord and stuff. And they showed me Natalia over the thing, and I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, oh my God, is that my baby? And then all of a sudden this whole wave of emotion came over and she was whisked away. And I started sobbing my eyes out. I'm like, oh my God, that's my baby. And Adam went, cut the umbilical cord. They wrapped her up and put her on my chest, but, you know, while they stitched me up. But I couldn't breastfeed or anything. So and then they took her away again. They had to weigh her, and Adam asked, you know, did you want me to stay with you or whatever? And I said, no, go with her. So, you know, it was an hour before I could see her again. I had to go to, I was a bit disappointed that I couldn't have the skin on skin. At the end of the day, I'm glad I'm alive. I'm glad she's alive, because the obstetrician was saying afterwards, obviously, you know, it was life or death situation for her. She pretty much wouldn't have made it, and it was likely that I wouldn't have made it either if they hadn't have done the cesarean. So I was very lucky in a lot of ways. Yeah, so it was an hour before I could see her, and that was, you know, I was really, really eager to see her, because, you know, she's been in your stomach for 9 months. You want to be with your daughter or your child. So yeah, that's it. So happy ending. Cesarean was fine. You know, it was sore for a few days afterwards. They give you good pain medication. You're in hospital for about five days or so, but that was fine. You know, you get a lot of support. I feel fine now. Cesarean was really good. Virtually pain-free except for the healing process or whatever. So that's it. That's the labour. Okay.